After I turned down a date from a higher-up, he mocked me during a staff meeting, saying, "She's too busy dreaming about being important to actually be important." I sat there as the blood drained from my face. I quietly filed a retaliation report, and when the settlement hit 6 figures, his name was scrubbed from every piece of company history like he never existed. I never thought turning someone down would cost me everything I worked for. But it did. At least, for a while. And the person who tried to break me? He's gone now. Not fired. Not just disgraced. Erased. This all happened in Tempe, Arizona. I was 29 at the time, working in finance at a mid-sized tech company. Around 200 employees, growing fast, lots of buzz in the industry. I was one of the quieter ones, came in on time, got my numbers right, kept to myself. I wasn't trying to climb the ladder with happy hours and office politics. I thought good work spoke for itself. I'd been working on a multi-department project with some of the product and marketing teams. It was going well. My boss, Andrea, had told me in a one-on-one that leadership was noticing me. She hinted a promotion might be on the table after Q2. It felt good. I'd been busting my ass for years. Then came Scott. Scott was a senior director. Everyone knew his name. He wasn't in my direct chain of command, but he oversaw several departments, including ours. I had maybe 5 total interactions with him the first 8 months I was there. Nothing personal, nothing weird. Then one Friday, our team went to a company-sponsored happy hour at a local spot. I didn't even want to go, but Andrea said it would be good to show face since my project was getting visibility. I got there around 5:30, stayed by the bar, sipped soda, and kept checking the time. Scott came over out of nowhere. I didn't even see him walk up. He said something like, "You're the mysterious one from finance." I just smiled and said, "Hey, Scott. You don't really do the social scene, do you?" I shrugged. "Just waiting on my ride." He leaned in a bit too close and said, "You know, I've had my eye on you for a while. You don't talk much, but you've got that quiet confidence. I like that." It caught me off guard. I forced a polite smile. "Thanks. That's nice of you to say. You should let me take you to dinner," he said. "Just you and me. No spreadsheets." I paused. I wasn't even sure how to answer. I didn't want to be rude, but I also knew this was a bad idea. I kept it calm. "I appreciate it, but I'm not really dating anyone right now." His expression changed. He smiled, but his eyes didn't. He laughed like I was being shy. "Sure. Let me know when you're ready to move up in the world." That comment. That stupid little line. I should have said something right then, but I didn't. I just gave a tight smile and turned away. My Uber pulled up 5 minutes later. Things changed after that. Within a week, I was removed from the project I'd been leading. No explanation. Just an email from my boss saying leadership wanted to shift focus. I wasn't CC'd on emails I should have been. I'd submit reports and get no feedback. I felt invisible. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I'd misread the signs. Maybe I wasn't doing as well as I thought. Then came the staff meeting. It was a quarterly thing. All departments. About 40 people in a big conference room. Scott was leading it. I sat near the back, just listening and taking notes. Then, out of nowhere, while talking about team growth, Scott said, "Some people here think they're on the fast track. Dreaming big, thinking they're gonna make VP by magic. She's too busy dreaming about being important to actually be important." He said it while looking straight at me. Dead silence. Some awkward laughs. My manager stared at her notebook. My stomach dropped. I could feel every eye in the room on me. I didn't say a word. I just sat there, frozen. My hands were shaking. After the meeting, I went straight to the bathroom and threw up. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying it in my head. That line. His face. Everyone watching me. I was humiliated. I felt small. Powerless. The next day, I walked into HR and asked to file a formal complaint. I gave them everything. The happy hour, the comment, the retaliation, the meeting. I also gave them printouts and screenshots showing the sudden changes in my workload. They listened. They took notes. They said they'd look into it. Weeks went by. Nothing changed. I kept doing my job, but it was clear I was being sidelined. Then I got an email from legal. They were bringing in an external investigator. I sat through 2 interviews. Long ones. They asked detailed questions, pulled my emails, looked at my performance history. I gave them the names of coworkers who saw things happen. Some of them agreed to speak. A few didn't want to get involved. It was slow. It felt endless. But I kept showing up. Every single day. And then, finally, something shifted. HR called me into a room with legal. They didn't waste time. They said they were prepared to offer a settlement. 6 figures. I almost choked. They said it came with the usual NDA, but that corrective action had already been taken. What they didn't say, what I found out later, was that Scott didn't just lose his job. He lost everything connected to the company. His name? Gone. From the org chart, the internal systems, old newsletters, archived leadership bios. Scrubbed. You couldn't even find him on the press releases he used to write. It was like he never worked there. But I remember. And I'm just getting started. So I took the settlement. It wasn't easy. Signing that NDA felt like sealing my own lips shut. Like saying what happened didn't matter. But I knew it did matter, and I knew what I was going to do next. They wanted me quiet. They thought money would fix it. But money doesn't erase the damage. After I left, I didn't go back into finance right away. I needed space. Time. I used part of the settlement to cover a few months of rent and bills while I figured out what was next. The rest I put away. I didn't touch it. Then one day, I got a LinkedIn message from an old coworker. Her name was Rena. She'd been in marketing, worked closely with Scott during her time there. We weren't close, but she always said hi in the break room. Her message was short. Hey. I just saw what happened. Something similar happened to me. I never spoke up. But I should have. Can we talk? That was the first of many. Over the next 2 months, 3 more women reached out. 2 still worked at the company. 1 had left years ago. All of them had stories about Scott. Similar stories. Inappropriate comments. Late-night messages. One woman said he grabbed her lower back during a networking event and whispered something disgusting in her ear. None of them had filed complaints. Most were scared. A few had gone to HR in the past, but nothing came of it. Same pattern, slow fade-outs, being removed from projects, performance reviews turning cold overnight. I started writing it all down. Every story. Every pattern. Every detail. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew it couldn't stay buried. Then I got an email that flipped everything upside down. It was from Scott. A personal email. Not a work address. Just my first name in the subject line. You really thought you won? That's all it said. Nothing else. No signature. My hands went cold. I sat there staring at it. I hadn't spoken his name since the settlement. I hadn't responded to any of the rumors I'd heard. That he was working at some smaller startup now, that he was trying to get back into the industry under a different title. He wasn't supposed to contact me. The NDA worked both ways. So I forwarded it. Straight to the legal firm that handled my settlement. And I followed up with another email with screenshots, just in case. They responded quickly. Said they were reviewing potential breaches and would be in touch. But I wasn't done just yet. The next week, I reached out to Rena again. I told her I was ready to do something more. Not legal. Not quiet. Something public. That's when she told me about the private Slack group she'd joined, women in tech sharing stories, anonymous posts, tracking toxic execs and companies. Some were journalists. Others were activists. A few were lawyers. I joined the group under a fake name. I shared my story. And the other women who'd messaged me? They joined too. One by one, each of us laid it all out. We didn't use names at first. Just job titles. City. Behavior patterns. But it didn't take long before people connected the dots. Then a post went viral. Someone in the group had written a long thread, vague but sharp, about a former Arizona-based tech exec who humiliated a female employee during a staff meeting after she rejected his advances. The post mentioned retaliation, settlement, and internal erasure of the exec's name from the company history. It wasn't me who posted it. But I knew it was about me. The thread exploded. People started speculating in the comments. DMs flew. A few others came forward publicly. Still no name, but the pressure was building. Then I got another message. This one wasn't from a woman. It was from another former director at the company. A man I barely knew. He said he'd always felt something was off with Scott but had kept his mouth shut. Said he'd seen things. Heard things. Said he'd testify if I ever took things further. That's when the idea started forming. What if I broke the NDA? What if I made it all public? I knew the risks. Financial penalties. Legal battles. Public exposure. But I also knew there was a reason they paid me to stay silent. Because if I spoke, if others spoke, everything would fall apart. I didn't know it yet, but someone inside the company had started collecting their own documentation too. Someone in HR. Someone who was tired of covering up messes for powerful men. And soon, that person would reach out to me with files I was never supposed to see. I wasn't expecting it. The email came from an encrypted address, with no name attached. Just a simple message, I saw what he did to you. I still work here. I can't say more yet. But I have copies. Attached were 3 PDF files. I didn't open them right away. I just sat there, staring at the screen, heart pounding. My first thought was it might be a setup, a trick to see if I'd violate the NDA. But then I noticed something small, the internal formatting. The same kind we used at the company. Same headers. Same timestamps. I opened the first file. It was a summary of internal complaints. Not just mine. For others, dating back almost 6 years. All against Scott. All buried. Some were marked resolved even though the victims had transferred or quit. One was from a woman I'd never met. She'd worked in sales for less than a year, left abruptly. Her complaint had included a direct quote from Scott during a one-on-one, "If you want to make it here, you have to know who's in charge." The second file hit harder. It was an internal memo, from legal to HR, dated just 1 month before I got pulled off my project. It mentioned previous risk exposure related to Director SM and advised that moving select employees off high-visibility roles might limit liability. They didn't fire him. They protected him. They shifted the women around like chess pieces to reduce the chance of a lawsuit. The third file made me nauseous. It was a recorded transcript from a meeting I was never invited to. A leadership offsite. There, Scott joked about a girl in finance who thinks she's hot shit and said it was time to put her in her place. Laughter. No one pushed back. No one defended me. This wasn't about just one moment in a staff meeting. This was a pattern. A protected one. I reached back out to the anonymous source. I said I didn't need their name. I just needed to know, why now? They responded, because I watched you walk away with your head up while the rest of them left behind closed doors. I was in the room. I said nothing. That's on me. But I can't stay silent anymore. I cried reading that. Then I called Rena. I told her everything. The files. The transcripts. The memo. We both sat on the phone in silence for a long time. She finally said, "You're not going to let this stay buried, are you?" "No," I said. "Not this time." Over the next few days, we pulled together every woman we'd spoken to. We started building a timeline. Matching documents to incidents. Compiling witness names. One of the former interns, someone who'd left the company 2 years ago, still had a Slack screenshot of Scott sending her a winking emoji after she asked a question in a meeting. We weren't just building a case. We were building a record. Then something strange happened. An industry newsletter published a short item, "Unnamed tech exec ousted amid internal probe, company denies allegations." They didn't mention names. But the timing matched. And that's when the pressure started to turn public. A reporter reached out to me. She said she'd heard about the viral post and that multiple sources were whispering about something big happening inside my former company. She asked if I was willing to talk. I told her about the NDA. She understood. Said they could still publish the pattern, protect my name, and shine a light on the system. I hesitated. Not because I was afraid of losing the money, I'd already decided I'd give it back if it meant telling the truth. But because once I did this, there was no turning back. That weekend, I told my parents everything. My dad was quiet. My mom cried. But both of them said the same thing: "You've already lost enough. If you're ready, speak." So I did. The story went live 3 weeks later. No names. Just details. Stories. Patterns. Behavior. Quotes. Leaks. People inside the company knew exactly who it was. And then, everything cracked wide open. 2 more women, current employees, filed complaints. Then another one did, but this time with a lawyer. Then someone leaked an old video clip from a virtual meeting where Scott rolled his eyes after a woman spoke and muttered under his breath, "Jesus." Another one. The company couldn't hide anymore. They released a vague statement about renewed commitment to workplace integrity and said they were investigating past leadership misconduct. But it was too late. Because someone, and to this day, I still don't know who, sent me one final file. It was a recording. Audio only. Date stamped 3 days before I was publicly humiliated. It was Scott. Talking to another exec. "Scott, she's smart, but she needs to learn who signs the checks." Other voice, "What are you going to do?" Scott. "I'm going to embarrass her. Put her in her place. She wants to play hardball, fine. Let's see how she handles being ignored, passed over. She'll fold." I didn't fold. And now, I had the smoking gun. I sent it to my lawyer. Because now I was coming for all of them. After I sent that recording to my lawyer, things moved fast. My lawyer listened to it twice. Then he looked up at me and said, "This breaks the NDA clean. It proves premeditation. It proves retaliation. And most importantly, it proves they knew exactly what they were doing." He called it a game changer. We sent a cease and desist to Scott the same day, for violating the terms of the settlement with his earlier email. Then my lawyer filed a motion to void the NDA completely, based on breach of contract and new evidence of systemic retaliation. The company tried to stall. They begged to settle again, this time, more money. A lot more. But I said no. I didn't want money anymore. I wanted exposure. We went public. Not anonymously this time. My name was in the headline. I gave an interview to a major outlet and handed over the documents. Everything. The memo. The files from the whistleblower. The emails. The audio. The reporter published it all. The story exploded. My face was on morning shows, podcasts, even national news for a few days. I didn't want the attention, but I took it because it wasn't just about me anymore. Women started flooding the tip line with their own stories, not just from my old company, but from other companies Scott had worked at before. Turns out, this wasn't new. Scott had done this at 2 other companies before mine. He'd been pushed out quietly both times. No lawsuits. Just clean exits, glowing references, and a trail of women who had been gaslit, silenced, or forced out. This time, there would be no quiet exit. The board of my old company held an emergency meeting. The CEO resigned within days. Turns out he'd heard the audio weeks before I ever did and tried to bury it. The head of HR was fired. 2 senior VPs stepped down under pressure. Scott? He disappeared. Deleted social media. His LinkedIn was gone. But not before people found screenshots of messages he'd sent to women over the years. Creepy. Gross. Some of them even younger interns. Then it got worse, for him. One of the women he harassed in the past? She worked at a nonprofit now. She came forward with her story. Turns out she had physical evidence from years ago, texts, photos, even a saved voicemail. She filed a police report. 2 weeks later, Scott was arrested. Not for harassing me. Not for just being a creep. But for a separate charge from years ago that had gone uninvestigated. Sexual misconduct with someone under 21, an intern from his first company. She had stayed quiet all these years, afraid. But when she saw my story, she found her courage. The trial is still ongoing. I won't say more about her, but she's stronger than any of us ever knew. As for me? I thought I'd feel better after everything burned down. I thought I'd feel clean, free. But the truth is, I was still carrying some of that weight. The humiliation. The fear. The months of doubt, of thinking maybe I was the problem. Then something happened I didn't expect. My old company, the one that tried to silence me, issued a public apology. Not just to me, but to every woman who came forward. They admitted fault. Named names. Published an internal audit. And then they offered something I didn't ask for. They invited me to lead a new internal review board for workplace safety. They said they'd fund it, staff it, and give me full access. I said no. Instead, I recommended Rena. And she took it. She's running it now, and she's damn good at it. I went back to school. Got my certification in HR law. I now work at a firm that actually protects women in the workplace. I help them file complaints, lawsuits, and class actions. Every time I hear a familiar story, I get sharper. Louder. Harder. And the money? I used part of it to fund a scholarship, in the name of the intern who came forward. The rest? It's still sitting in my account, untouched. I don't need it to feel whole. I needed justice. And I got it. But here's the part one didn't see coming. About 6 months after the story blew up, I got a card in the mail. No return address. Just a simple message inside, I was in that room during the staff meeting. I laughed. I'm sorry. I've carried it every day since. You didn't fold. You changed everything. I kept that card. Because sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's just surviving long enough to see them fall. And watching them get erased, one name, one lie, one coward at a time. Scott doesn't exist anymore. But I do. And I'm just getting started.